This is the Happy Families podcast. I'm Dr. Justin Coulson. Neurodivergent children can be very, very, very fussy when it comes to eating. They'll have sensory issues, tend to like foods that are yellow and white. And unfortunately, because there are already so many challenges that we're dealing with neurodivergent kids, poor diet only adds to it. And yet, hearing me say that only adds to the weight that's on your shoulders and the complexity of life generally. How do we navigate diet when it comes to kids with neurodevelopmental challenges? What do we do to get appropriate food into them so that they can have the right energy and also the right ability to focus and concentrate and regulate their emotions and their behaviours effectively, as well as just having good physical health? Today on the Happy Families podcast, we address how to feed neurodivergent kids when all they want to do is eat pasta and hot chips. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to the Happy Families podcast, real parenting solutions every day. This is Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. Regular guest on the pod, somebody who knows much more about food, diet, nutrition and healthy eating than most people I know, is Karina Savage. Karina's a paediatric dietitian and runs the website nourishwithkarina.com, mum of two kids. Joining me now to talk about neurodivergent challenges when it comes to diet. Nice to be with you, Karina.
Thank you. It's great to be here chatting with you.
Let's talk about the main nutrition issues for neurodivergent kids. I've got a child who's autistic or ADHD or both, probably has a bit of anxiety to boot, and they just won't eat anything except for the white stuff and the yellow stuff. Pasta, chips, cheese, chicken nuggets, maybe a bit of white rice. How does that sound? About right?
About right. It certainly stresses parents out. And look, fussy eating is common amongst all children, but we find that with neurodivergent children, they're even more fussy and there's more of a likelihood that they will be fussy or very selective with their eating. And this can create a lot of stress and worry for parents because we're always taught, what our children should be eating, all the colours of the rainbow and all the 5 food groups, but actually making it happen can be really stressful for parents. And so this white diet is very, very common for children, especially neurodivergent children.
Yeah, I've sat in that seat. I'm still sitting in it from time to time, and we've been creative and patient and have worked extremely hard to navigate it. I feel like we've done a reasonable job, but not every parent has a PhD in psychology and has written the books about parenting and all this sort of stuff. So where do you normally start when a family sits down and says, we just can't get this kid to eat anything that would be quote unquote healthy? They only want to eat really low value carbs.
I think it's really important to start with trying to address the underlying root cause of the fussy eating or the selective intake, the white diet. And often with neurodivergent children, sensory issues do play a significant role, whether it's to do with how food is presented, whether it's the taste of the food. Some kids prefer sour or salty. It could be the texture. Often kids love the crunchy food. And there's a lot of factors that go into sensory issues, which can be a big issue with children that are neurodivergent, but also other factors to do with anxiety, food familiarity. So it's understanding the root cause of why they're fussy to start with so that we can then put some strategies in place to actually get them trying new foods. But often we need to really lower our expectations as parents to start where the child's at, because you can't just expect them to eat, the Instagrammable style lunches or dinners because it's just not realistic.
Yeah, MasterChef does not really cut it when you've got a neurodivergent child who's a little bit fussy. Let me ask you a question around, I'll bring it straight out. Spaghetti bolognese, right? It's pretty much a guaranteed winner for every child every night of the week. How many nights a week can my kids eat spaghetti bolognese before it starts to impact their health? Because we've had to feed them a lot of spaghetti bolognese over the years and chicken nuggets, let's be honest.
Well, look, if they will eat spaghetti bolognese, I'm not fussed if they're eating it every night of the week. If you can get a balance of those food groups into them, because that is a meal that often you can hide a lot of veggies in the sauce. You've got the veggies, you've got the protein, you've got the carbs, and the pasta is actually slow release. So pasta is one of the best white foods you can eat. So it's not a problem. I think the most important thing is that we are also giving them additional, what I call test foods, which will help to stretch them over time. But this could take months and years. But building that familiarity and trust in other foods whilst we're giving them their safe foods is really the way to go.
All right. So I want to talk about strategies in just a sec. But before we do so, just one really important question. Do you think that as parents we're making too big of a deal of the impact of a diet that is not what I would consider ideal? Okay, so it's not particularly colourful. There's not a whole lot of variety. Are we shortchanging our children's health? Are they going to end up with stunted growth? Is their brain function going to be attenuated? Is it going to be deleterious to their overall well-being if they're not getting good food?
It really depends on how restricted they are or how wide their intake is, because I see a lot of children that eat no fruit or vegetables or eat, all carbs. And when you're wiping out whole food groups, absolutely there is a risk. So they've studied neurodivergent children and they have found that this group of children are at risk of key nutrient deficiencies such as omegas or zinc or B or vitamin D or magnesium. And these nutrients can impact emotional regulation. These nutrients can impact gut health. And they've linked, some of these nutrient deficiencies to learning difficulties and whatnot. And so in the extreme cases of fussy eating and food restriction, then yes, we do need to be worried and the impact on their emotional regulation is real and their neurological, function. But if it's just a case of, they're just not eating all the colours of the fruits and the vegetables, then it's not as much of a concern.
I'm really glad that you clarified that. I've found that with my kids, we really do see their capacity for physical activity, their emotion regulation, and even their willingness to, or their ability to sit down, focus and concentrate and get stuff done is really affected by their diet. It seems to really have an impact. So after the break, let's have a chat about what we can do in terms of strategies to start improving our kids' nutrition so that they can flourish, since obviously this is a thing. Talking with Karina Savage. Karina is a paediatric dietitian, runs the website nourishwithkarina.com, and has become one of my favourite go-to people for all things diet related when it comes to helping our kids to be healthy. Karina, if I'm dealing with a neurodivergent child, sensory issues, really fussy and picky around what foods go into his or her mouth, and just loves that white rice and cheese and a bit of pasta, what are the strategies that you would typically work on with parents to improve their nutrition? For example, I heard you say before with spaghetti bolognese that you can also put some, I think you used the word test foods alongside it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my strategy there would be to list the safe foods that your child has, and that is the foods that appeal to them for whatever reason, whether it's they're familiar with the food, whether it turns on their sensory preferences. So often children love things that are crunchy or love things that are salty. So we have to really be in tune to what foods are in their sort of safe category based on their sensory preferences or what they are familiar with. And then we try to put some little test foods on the side, but often they can't be touching. Sometimes they can't even be on the same plate. I'm not sure if you found that with your daughter, but trying to keep them safe and separate is important, so that children don't have a heightened sense of anxiety in mealtimes. Because as soon as we elevate their anxiety, we put them into fight or flight mode, and then they can't even comprehend trying to attempt to try a new food. And then often the whole meal is sabotaged. So we really need to be mindful of how we approach mealtimes with children, especially that are super fussy.
Yeah, it's funny how if the food just looks wrong, or if it's food that they like, but you've added one thing to it, it can set everything off.
Sabotage the whole meal.
Yeah. Let me run a couple of things by you that we've also found really effective with our kids. What we've often done is we'll just put a platter out and we'll say, while you're playing this game or while you're reading this book, or while you're doing that thing, we'd like you to eat what's on the plate. And we usually give them a whole lot of foods. You use the term safe. I kind of feel like we're over-pathologizing food when we keep on talking about this idea that I get the idea behind it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'd rather just talk about foods that kids are really enjoy eating, and then foods that they're not quite so familiar with. And we just sort of say there's a couple of things on here that you haven't had before. We'd like you to try it while you're having all the other foods that you do like. So like the other week, we put some sliced radish on the plate with some other foods that we know that our daughter eats, and she ate it. And at the end of it, she said, yeah, I didn't really like it, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And we're kind of going,
amazing.
Yeah, all right, this is a win. But generally speaking, we'll just put the fruit and veggies on. We actually make it really colourful. We let her play with it and design it however she wants. Sometimes we do faces and things. And we found over the last year or so, as we've really emphasised that she's got agency over what she's eating. The plate's there. She gets to choose at what speed she eats it, in what environment she eats it. We've just found that she's happy to eat pretty much anything. Like, well, actually, not anything. No, that's going too far. There's still a lot that she won't eat. There's a lot. That was overstating it. But certainly she's become a lot more open to eating foods. And it just sort of has to fit with her. I guess autonomy is the key word here. Like, she still won't sit down and eat my prawn pesto pasta. That is just my specialty, with a little bit of garlic and chili on the prawns and some zucchini threaded through the pasta. It's amazing. She won't eat that.
Yum.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking too. She won't touch it. She won't eat anything with avocado. There's a million billion things that she won't eat. But
food rules, yeah.
Yeah, but we are finding that when we set it out like that, we can get more colours on the plate, more colours into her body, and she's taking her time eating it while she's doing another activity that she's sort of focused on, and it gets us there. It's not ideal. It's not the way we want it to be, but it gets us there, and she's eating. What have I said that's right?
Yeah.
What have I said that's wrong? How would you change it, and what else would you suggest?
Yeah, no, you're doing all the right things, and this is why it's working, because food play in a non-pressurized environment builds familiarity and trust, and it helps with autonomy. They become empowered. They get to choose. Same thing you could do with sorting nuts out. Little opportunities, peeling peas, peeling peanuts, where they're not forced to eat or not even encouraged to eat. It's just, here it is, have a go. I mean, it's great if she will eat, if you say, pick at it as you're playing. But I think the important thing to note here is there's no pressure, and there's a lot of exposure of a variety of foods that they're both familiar with and happy to eat, and foods that are slightly out of their comfort zone but are there for them to give it a go. And those opportunities over the days and the weeks and the months all add up, especially if they're also seeing you eat these foods, at certain times as well. So that's really powerful that you're also eating these foods, because when she sees you eating and enjoying these foods, that also helps to build that familiarity and trust in that food.
All right. So, Karina, we've covered off a fair bit in a very short period of time. Let's pull it down to 3 key rules. What are the 3 key rules or strategies or tactics or approaches that we could take to help our neurodivergent kiddos, or just picky eaters generally, to get that variety and that colour and that flavour into their mouths?
So understand where their challenges currently are and work from there. Number 2, try to offer food play in a non-pressurized environment and encourage small changes done consistently over time. So, for example, moving from white to wholemeal, if we can increase fibre and reduce fast sugars, small little changes done consistently will make a big difference. The third thing I would say would be to watch the packet food, because there's a whole lot of evidence around food colours, especially, and some preservatives, and the impact on neurodivergent children and their attention and their behaviour. So processed foods, I know we haven't even talked about that yet, but that's another one that we really need to be mindful of.
Yeah, they just love that stuff. We'll wrap it up there, and maybe we can do that another time. Karina Savage is a paediatric dietitian. Nourishwithkarina.com is the website. You've got a membership there as well. Am I right in recalling that?
Yes, I do. And you can find out all of that information on my website. Absolutely.
Okay, nourishwithkarina.com. We'll link to that in the show notes. Karina, always enjoy our chats and always feel like I'm picking up useful hints and tips. So hopefully this has been really valuable for so many parents. Thanks for the chat.
Thanks for having me.
The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Coulson from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides additional research and admin support. If you'd like more information to make your family happier, visit us at happyfamilies.com.au.